Becky Lynch has joined us, and there's a lot to talk about. The new book is a lot. But Becky, I'm gonna
Hello.
I'm gonna throw out a question I just asked Tommy, and welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on with us. We appreciate the time, and we're gonna ask you about the book. But let me ask you a question. I want you to be honest. It's a
Go.
hot question. It's a hot question.
You love the hot
But
questions, the hot takes.
we just
What
we're
are we
just
talking about?
we're introducing you. We're bringing you in for the interview, and we played your entrance theme. And I'm like almost embarrassed because I would think that every time you do the interview that somebody's playing your entrance theme. Do you get tired of hearing your entrance theme? And would you like another song being played when people introduce you?
Gosh. And no, I'm not tired of my entrance music. It's pretty funky one, real catchy, real boppy. But would I like a different one? Um, oh, yeah, well, no, maybe, maybe just to change it up, like I think of when I was on the Independents and my entrance music was MC Hammer, Can't Touch This. And I
Nice.
love that, because you can't touch this.
Okay. All right. I
You know
like
what I
that.
mean?
All right. So I like that. So if you had to choose, not that, I mean, the entrance theme is fine, but if you had
Yeah.
to choose another song, you would go with MC Hammer, Can't Touch This.
If you were introducing me, yeah. Or like there's a Horselip song. It's an Irish band called Trouble. Trouble with a capital T. And that's
Okay.
me too. I'm trouble. I'm some trouble.
All
Bring
all
some
right.
trouble.
I get
Well,
that. So
Kanye has that amazing song, but Kanye is. Let's not talk about Kanye.
what is it like for you to kind of just sit down and write a book to tell your story and kind of open yourself up to the public like you've had to do this book?
I loved it, and I think it was because it was always in my mind that I was gonna do this. Like it was yeah, I'm gonna be a wrestler. I'm gonna make it to WWE. I'm gonna main event WrestleMania. I'm gonna write a book. It was just like the things that were not inevitable because nothing's inevitable, but was high on my what I will do one day list. And so my dad, when I was younger, was always telling me to write everything down, write everything down. And when I rekindled my love for wrestling as a teenager, Mick Foley was my guy. He was my guy, and so I could see myself in Mick, the person who wasn't the athlete, but that um, had that fight in him. And when he wrote a book, then I was like, oh well, I will also write a book, and I will write my own book too, because my dad had always told me to write everything down, and that I think my dad was trying to just make me a writer from a young age. He loved getting me to write down different stories, tell stories, all of that kind of stuff, and I think that really sculpted, um, I suppose, the person that I am now. And then when I wrote the book, I just wanted to make sure it was as honest as possible, so that maybe people could relate to it, could find something um, that could help them, maybe, or they could see something in either my mistakes or my successes that maybe they haven't seen in other books. And I think that's the thing of when you're reading memoirs, and especially from people that have done some exceptional things. And you left out an average there, because it's not your average girl, because that's how I always felt. I was this like average ass girl from Dublin, who wasn't really remarkable in any other way, but with wrestling I was able to change that, and I applied myself, and got to do some most unaverage things. And I kind of lost my train of thought there. Anyway, I
No,
wrote a book and it's great.
no, you know what? And one of my biggest regrets, and when I think about pro wrestling, I do think about my dad. My dad used to take me to the matches when I was young, and the one thing I wish is that my dad would have been able to listen to this show and see that I've been able to create a brand and a show that talks about pro wrestling. He passed away many years ago and was never able to see that. Like for you, you were able to your dad was able to see you grow as a superstar and as a wrestler. So, you know, somebody who is behind you and supported you. I mean, what was that like for you to be able to give him that gift of you becoming what you always dreamed to be?
Yeah, so the thing is my dad was an interesting cat because I don't think any amount of actual success, like however you would measure success with WrestleMania main events or whatever it is, book or money. I don't think he really considered that as success. It was really just like whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you happy, Bex. That was him. And he came to WrestleMania 35, and he had just been diagnosed with cancer quite recently. And I expected him to care more about it, and he just kind of, I don't think really did. Like I don't think he really, it didn't make a difference in how he saw me. He loved seeing, I was on the chairs, the chairs that you get when you go to like a pay-per-view, and we're on the chairs, like pictures of us. Like I think he was more impressed by that than the actual main eventing of WrestleMania. But it was because he had like a little souvenir and stuff he
Yeah.
could go around and show people. But I think as long as I was doing what I liked and being true to myself, as corny as that sounds, like that was what uh that was success to him. And any external validation didn't make a difference to
Wow.
him.
How long did it take you to write this book?
So I started in 2020, and I just didn't know what I was doing. So I would just like write down all of my memories, just like vomit, just word vomit right onto the page. And but then I would get to like hard parts, and I would stop. And I often thought I found anything talking about WWE harder than the other parts, than the private parts, because I felt like once I'm talking about WWE, you're talking about people that are in the public eye. So how you represent them is important, and that will make a difference. So I'd always find that part hard, and so then I'd go back, and then I would just stop. So then in 2022, I joined a book writing course with Neil Strauss, um, and that was very helpful. And then I handed in a draft to my editor, and then she came back with some notes, and I hadn't actually read it. I just kind of written it through to like, okay, I was like, here's the end of the book. And then she came back with notes, and I was like, oh, I hate this book. Oh, I hate this. I am rewriting that whole book. And so then on my NXT run, when I was the champion there, I like rewrote the whole book on like backstage, on
Wow.
live events or TV, on red eyes in hotel room. Like I just rewrote the whole thing to and got it to a point where I was really happy with it. And I think I've learned more than anything that deadlines are my best friend. And I think with wrestling, we constantly have deadlines. So you might not have a match in place, you might not have a promo in place, but you're going to go live in like a few minutes or a few hours, and you have to have something. You have to have something. You're not going to go out to the ring and do nothing. And so I like those deadlines. I like working under pressure. I think that's, I was always a crammer in school, but I also think that helped me in writing the book too.
I also love that WWE recently showed how busy you are in a promo that you cut. Because I don't know how you find the time to do the things that you do, look the way you look, be a mom. That there's so many different. You are the man because of how much work you really do. So I mean, hats off to you. But for you coming back, also besides writing this book, the fact that you said you were doing that at live events while you're the champion, because we're all seeing the best work I think you've ever done. Love the match that you just had on Monday, and you're also going into a main event match at WrestleMania. So I mean, like, how do you how do you juggle all this?
Um, you just get on with it, don't you?
Nice.
You know what I mean? You just
Yeah.
get on with it. I think when you've got things to do, and you've got things in front of you, you just figure it out a way. And sometimes I'll look at the schedule and I'll be like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but I have a great support system. I have a great husband. My baby rocks. We're lucky. We're lucky in the fact that, we don't have to do the rental cars anymore and the driving ourselves. We have a bus. So we have a nanny on the bus who happens to be our bus driver's wife. So it's like
Oh, wow.
it's like this family, this whole extra family that Rue gets. It's like another set of aunt and another aunt and uncle for her. So we're really lucky. And then, when we come back to Iowa, we've got Kobe's, so we've got people that can help us when we're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, So we're very lucky in that.
The name of the book again is Becky Lynch, The Man, Not Your Average Girl. So thank you for adding that extra average. You know, I want to go back, if you don't mind, to your dad just for a second, because you said that he's the person who inspired you to write the stories that really built you to want to do this book. Now you have the book in front of you. What do you think your dad would say if you were able to hand this book to him, knowing that that he inspired you to write down the stories? And that, I mean, Becky, and I think about it for a second. You wrote a book, it's, it's incredible that your life so far, and you're so young, your life so far, you've been able to write a book that people can't wait to buy and to read. Like, just talk about that, because that's amazing to me.
Well, so I think Mick Foley was like around the same age when he wrote his. So so that's, that's, I think in wrestling, especially when you've been on the independent circuit and you've done all these things, like so much happens in such a short period of time. I actually found that to be another one of the hard things. I was like, I don't know where to end this. Like life kept happening, like wild life kept happening. Like things were just, there's always so much drama in wrestling. You know what I mean? That's what
Yeah.
that's and there's so much stuff because you're dealing with all these characters in the entertainment industry that want to be on top. So there's a million things. So it was like, okay, no, this needs to end. This needs to end here. I feel like it's not as wild that I've written a book at this age, but that I was able to finish, But maybe there'll be a sequel. But I think he'd be proud. I go like, will he like my writing style? Like my writing style is very conversational. I kind of my dad was he had that very like Queen's English kind of speaking about him. But I think he'd like it. I think he'd like it. He loved uniqueness. And so I think this is uniquely my voice, Nobody else could have written it because it's so much in my own voice,
Mm-hmm.
Man,
awesome.
this
So I
is
think he'd be
awesome.
proud. I think he'd be proud.
Absolutely. I mean, if you really do think about, listen, I study and listen to every word you say. You're one of my favorites. But also just because if you think about it, there was a girl from Ireland that was inspired by somebody else, but then at one point you almost quit this, and now you're inspiring others. And then when you said about like your dad, he loved you no matter what you did, but it's then how others perceive you that, like you said, he could go around and show, this is my daughter. That's that pride that you have. And it's not just an Irish thing, because I went through it with my dad and my grandfather. It's a good dad thing. And it just so, like, honestly, like Mick Foley's book, I loved. I can't wait to get your book. But like, if you really do think about like the beauty of life, because then one day you have a daughter and you have her and she could read your book and see how you inspired. And there's going to be women and men that take this inspiration and are going to be the next Becky Lynch and Mick Foley.
Oh, I hope so. I think as well, I wanted, and thank you so much for saying all that. I wanted to write a book that was, it was also just more than wrestling and relatable. And I think that that's what this is, because it's like whatever journey it is, you're gonna have the people that are telling you that it's not possible. And what I found more than anything was the own voice in my head saying that, you're not good enough, or you're not this enough, or whatever it is. This person's better than you, and overcoming that. And I think that's stuff that we can all relate to. And it's weird. My dad was so much the supporter and the dreamer and the anything is possible, and my mom was like the staunch Irish mammy, realist, practical. No, let's get you a real job, and you got to do this and you got to do that. And I think like that Irish mammy work ethic and my dad's just like whimsical spirit allowed me to kind of have this wacky dream, but work really hard for it. So it was a nice little blessing that I got from both of my parents. And so hopefully people can take a little bit from that.
You know what's going to be cool is one day your daughter is going to be doing a book report on your book.
I think there's far too much cursing in this for her to be able to do a book report in school about this.
Well, and as I said, it's open to the public. It's going to be available to everybody March 26th, but you can pre-order it right now at Amazon.com. Also, you did an audio book for this. I did do the audio book. What's that like?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was good. One, because I was able to correct a bunch of mistakes that I had missed in proofreading. And actually, people might pick up, there might be a few errors on the back end in this version of the publication that will be gone in the next publication, because I picked up on them, because we were running a tight deadline to get this out. But so at some points it felt like I was being waterboarded with my own words, because you're sitting in a little booth reading from an iPad for like 6 hours at a time. And so it was hard, but also rewarding and fun, and you got to play with your voice. And I don't know if you're hearing this wild child in the background, so I apologize if you are.
It's all good. It's all good. We're just talking here. It's perfect, actually. It's a good soundtrack because this is your life. I mean, it's and I'm sure when you get home, you're not WWE superstar Becky Lynch. You're a wife, you're a mom, like those things it's good to be able to shut the door and live, just being in a family.
Yeah, I'm not the man in this household. Neither is Seth. Like this child, she runs a tight ship, man. Like, and if you're not playing the games that she wants to, like right before I got on with you, I had to be Elsa or Anna, like it would change, and then I would have to zap her and pick her up, and then Seth was the troll that would take away. And anyway, sorry, I don't know if you know Frozen, but she just has these games on repeat, and you have to do the line reads exactly as she's a little, yeah, she could run WWE probably in like 5 years. Everybody be terrified of her. Sorry, Rue. Yes, ma'am.
Enjoy it, because Tommy and I will both tell you it goes by fast, and the next thing you know, my daughter's now in her 20s, and Tommy, your daughter start in college. Like it goes by so very, very fast. So enjoy every moment, because it changes so quickly.
Thank you. We are, and we're very lucky that we get to take her with us, and she gets this real unique way of life. Like this kid has seen all of the zoos in America at this stage, because we're always looking for something to do, so that she's not just sitting around on the bus or in the building. So yeah, we're so lucky in that regard.
The best zoo is the Bronx Zoo.
Is it?
Best zoo I've ever been to, and I've been to about 30 of them.
Wow. Okay. All right. We'll put it on the list. We're there. She were there before WrestleMania.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's right. You're going to be making a stop in Brooklyn before we get to Philadelphia. Becky, thank you so much for the time. Again, the book, Becky Lynch, The Man, Not Your Average Girl. March 26th, it comes out, but you can pre-order right now on Amazon.com. Also, you can get the audio CD as well, the audio book. And congratulations on all the success. We'll be in Philadelphia for WrestleMania, so we can't wait to see you there, and I can't wait to sit down and read this book.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.